So, with this new housing type structure system, I think that it should be fair on both sides of the
Yeah,
fence.
yeah.
So, where you've got slack landlords and they start to become back
Hmm.
on top,
Yeah.
I believe that there should also be punishments addressed to slack tenants.
Okay.
But I think it's going to need to be more intrusive than ever before, where you sign this into the agreement. It's sort of a bit hit and miss. Okay, I hear that landlords used to say, no children, no pets,
Hmm.
no
Know
DSS.
this, know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And their arguments for that, I don't agree with the discrimination there.
Hmm.
However, I hear why they say the things they do.
Hmm.
So there needs to be a fine line done, which it can be done if everything all knits together very nicely. So I think one of the main problems is with children
Hmm.
is in the beginning days of potty training, little bubbers, they're prone to wee.
Yeah.
Okay, there's going to be accidents and there's going to be slip ups.
Hmm.
If you've got a wooden floor, nightmare,
Hmm.
because you can only clean the surface. You can't get underneath. So there is an issue there.
Yeah.
But to sit here and tear each other down because of it, that is not the answer. You have to find the middle ground.
Hmm.
I love magnetism. I love it. It's so unnarrated, it's unbelievable. So, with houses that are being built, there is several changes I would make, and you can also implement this into houses as old as this one.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
A type of lino situation that once the house is built, new houses could be built with this in mind.
Hmm.
And it seems a little extreme, but let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Those skirting boards that you got around the outside,
Yeah.
I believe them being fixed to the wall is problematic because they get damaged and they are also prone to just being quite the nuisance, especially in certain circumstances. So let's go with this. If they were taken off the wall and you have the blank canvas of the room, and there was a lino to be put throughout the entirety of the property,
Hmm.
I would go a step further and additionally have plug holes in each room in the middle of it. If it couldn't be done because it's an older building, but newer buildings, it's a bit more easier to do. Complicated, but once you got the knack, you know how it's done. Where the room doesn't slant like massively like a bathtub, but slightly slants towards the middle of the room. So it's sort of, very gradually. You don't notice it. You don't want a perfect straight surface. You want one that sort of comes in and into a plug in the middle. This should be wrapped with lino all the way around it, except for that plug hole. So it needs to screw off.
Hmm.
Lino goes down, punch the hole where the plug hole is, screw lino down. You should be able to put Velcro around the outside of the room. And this lino should go up behind the skirting board.
Hmm.
And the skirting board should be attached using magnets. I honestly believe that. A lot of very strong magnets that clip it on. Why do I think that it should be done that way? Because if a tenant damages it, it's very easy to replace. And I think that there should be two ratios for this. One, it can be custom.
Hmm.
The tenant at will can take these off and put on their own classic design, go to a shop somewhere and buy your own.
Yeah.
This helps because it allows you to personalize the space.
Hmm.
You are not allowed to take the lino off.
Hmm.
That stays.
Yeah.
The Velcro around the flooring, you are to lay a carpet down on top of it, even if a landlord puts it down on top. It means that when it comes to cleaning, carpets are a nightmare to clean. If you've got carpets on a wooden floor and you go to clean it, you will damage the wooden flooring underneath.
Yeah.
If it's concrete, it goes beyond the layers. It really does. It's
Mm.
not great. It's not the best. If you don't use the right chemical,
Yeah.
it can stink.
Mm.
This ensures that the floors in the house, upstairs and down, will always be looked after.
Yeah.
However, this is expensive, and this will be very expensive for the landlord. If you damage it, then I think it ought to be fair that a judge would be able to dock this from your wages or dock it from your benefits. No ifs and no buts. But when they come and do their check, they check around on this. If you've damaged it, you will be given a choice. Choice, you replace it. That's your choice. That's at your labor expense. That's at your choice to where you go to get this, whether it be the skirting boards or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
If the tenant is likely to put their own down with their own style, which would be incentivized, if it's magnetic, it's easy to do. It will take a bit of a oomph to get it off, but once it comes off the wall, another one can just be clipped onto the wall using magnets. I love magnetism. It is beautiful. And they would store yours. Now that's either A, give it back to the company, wrap it up, stick it somewhere, charge for storage or whatnot, combined storage, or the tenant puts it up in the loft in a zip bag or whatever it is. Some of these are a bit long, so it might not be possible, but there should be somewhere allocated for this to be stored. When they move out, they either leave their old, which is possible because it might not fit in every single room, in every single house, in every single place. But if it could be cut down, still with the magnetic rail in it, you could probably mix and match this to fit a smaller room elsewhere, if not the bigger room.
Yeah.
Or you buy an extra piece that does fit and use the other bits to offcut. And I think then, with this personalization, the Landlords version, and if it's wood and it has a coating on it, it's easy to take off and give it a good clean.
Yeah.
And it should be able to cope with a good bleach, let's say, because you want to get it nice and white.
Yeah.
And it should be treated as such, with that mindset. A chemical that is designed for it, that it wipes off all staining. You don't need that ugly layer up of, I mean, this one is like, how many layers worth of paint on there? And some of it's a bit bumpy, and some of it's higher than the other, and some areas where it's lost the paint over time, and people just paint it over rather than... Yeah, it kind of stops all of that nonsense as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really does, doesn't it? And have you got the time to sit there and paint that and strip it all off? No. So why don't you go with the flow? And I think this way, it makes it very easy then. Tenant, look, this is damaged. Yeah. Here, you've got this many days to just get another one. Then it leaves you to just buy it and clip it on yourself, which is easy done. Or you're going to be charged for it, but it's coming out of your wage. And I think the courts, they should be able to take you to court on that immediately. Look, this is damaged. And the courts will be like, right, okay, how much is it going to cost you? All right, it's going to cost us this much to do it, plus the court fee, plus this, plus the labour. And I think that it ought to be demonstrated that if it is just a piece of skirting board, it's off with the old that is damaged and on with the new. Or you buy the new from that and it gets stored away for later for when the tenant moves out. This way, it stops the landlord from having to keep forking out the cost each and every single time. The carpet. If the tenant wants to put their own carpet, off comes the Velcro and new types of carpet that have Velcro incentive. None of these carpet grippers, again, damages the floor. And again, it would damage the lino. In the event that you've got children and they spill a drink, well, with a good Vax, you can clean it. And what's more, the Vax can get right underneath there and give that a really good clean.
Yeah.
And then carpets can be built to last. Yes, they're going to wear. Yes, they're going to fade. Yes, this is just inevitable. But it's just as easy as get one that's custom.
Yeah.
Custom built. And then it makes carpet cutting to be accurate. You don't need to cut it. Non-cutting carpets. It's already done in a factory somewhere, robotics. You type in the measurements, blah-de-blah. It knows that it's got to go under a little bit of the skirting board. So off comes all the skirting board that are magnetic. Okay, get a good measurement. Okay. And then it goes under, skirting board back on. None of that bulky paint somewhere, and some of the boards might have swollen up a little bit. Oh, yeah, none of that. There'll be none of that. And then in the event of a leak, any type of leak, it's not going to go into your foundations. It's not going to get into the cavity. It's just not going to damage anything else. And those little plug holes that we're talking about, it finds its way into an area where it can drain away. Sure, it's not going to stop the devastation in furniture, but it's like the glass that if you knock it, it spills your drink, but it doesn't break your glass. There is going to be leaks in certain areas, especially high areas where it's prone. Wash machine, for example. It's not going to capture it all, but it's going to get most of it. And with it going with this certain sloping, it will naturally formulate that area. And then hopefully it will stop it spreading into any other room. And if it does spread into any other room, you've now got 3 outlets. One underneath your wash machine, dishwasher, kitchen sink. These are highly prone to leak. Build your surface, drain the water, runs into a gully inside the house. The wash machine can sit on these perfectly. If it's under your sink, well, the cupboard usually sits over it anyway. But under there is science going on, just in case. This way, if it does get in and it goes to run, it's not going to get into your walls because you've got the lino that goes up and under and behind your skirting board. Magnets clipped onto this. If there is an event where you've got children and they're a little bit clumsy, it's prone. You can't have perfect children. It's just never ever think that, because it's never going to go that way, and it's expecting way too much from a child to be absolutely perfect. It's just not happening. So you go with it. Go with it. That saves you 1, labor. 2, it's going to save you an awful lot of expense. Can the carpet be salvaged? Yes, it can. Tenant moves out. They didn't really make a much mess on the carpet. Well, there are a few stains here and there. Get in there with a good old Vax. Peel it back. If there's any dirt and sand and debris that have got beyond the carpet, sometimes this happens. Quick sweep, lay it all back down nice and clean. Smell the freshness of the house. Then, if it comes to decorating, skirting boards out the way, carpet out the way, quick wash on the walls with a bit of paint, roll it all out again. The tenant wants to paint. It's not going to be dripped all over the skirting board. It isn't going on the carpet. The lino underneath, who cares, as long as it's integral. If you've got a pet that chews it, it's being docked out of your wages. You've got a choice. You get it done, or you get the court expenses as well. In real time. No, we'll pay you later. Because most people are probably going to be like, see you later, mate. And then it kind of counteracts that. And then it gets a little bit of balance where, 1, you'll know that regardless of whether it's a private rented or whether it's social housing, you're going to have a nice house. It leaves the windows, if they're integral or not integral, you can start sweating the more bigger stuff then. And then you can focus your money on more, well, the outside kind of needs a bit of a lick of a paint. It's easier to be done then. That's all you've got to do, really. Quick cut the grass. You know you haven't got to worry about inside the property. And even if you do, tenant is responsible for that. But again, for someone to come out and just put on a skirting board that's damaged, or the carpet's got a bit damaged, it can either be cleaned. If it can't be cleaned because you've got paint over it, there's no excuse then. If you've got paint on that, that was you. That's on you. Right, carpet. Let's go. Well, does that mean I get a new carpet? No. When you move out, that carpet goes down. That's for the next tenant. If you're comfortable to live in a place where you've got paint splatter everywhere, dog pissing in every other fucking room, shitting, nope, next tenant. They're not going to worry about that. And even if you can, and it seeps through the carpet, just give it a quick wash. In the drain it goes. Toodle pip. But it'll be a drain that doesn't have a gully on it, like a capture gully. Because if not, it'll smell stagnant. Nope, this just runs straight outside. And then those will need cleaning out periodically, which is just a foam ball pushed in there with a pressure system put on top, with a jet of water. The water presses the foam ball through the pipe so it blocks out anything that's in there, spiders, debris. And, again, it's going to need an outside vent on it, a cage, if you like. Spiders and stuff like that are going to be prone to go in there, but, I don't think they're going to do much damage underneath a carpet somewhere. It's possible. I'm not sure. But again, in the event, it could also have a valve where the water pushes and it keeps closed. So there's always that. And this makes cleanup so much more easier. It's very quick then. Then you can focus on just the walls then. Is the tenant going to have perfect walls? No. None of us are perfect. You're going to splash and do whatever, and then you live in that sort of stuff environment. That's how you live. That's how you live. And then the rent sort of covers the paint issue, if you like, after the tenant has gone, or this, that, and the other. Quick paint, all done. Doors, again, I think that's, a lot of doors are pretty shitty. Some of these are pretty good, some are pretty bad, but I don't think this kind of covers it, really. But if you get a dog that chews the lino, in your inspection, I want to be pulling back some of this carpet. I want to have a little look. If most of it, you don't need to move furniture, but in any way you can move this back. Tenants, do not touch the lino. It stays on. It's got to be a certain type of lino, and it doesn't have to have a pattern on it either. It could be quite a standard. So there you are. It's going to save on money to buy that. You damage it, it's pretty expensive. That's labor intrusive because it's got to be, the whole lot's got to be ripped up, and it's all got to be done. So yeah, there's going to be some pennies, but it's going to have to come out weekly whilst you got the tenant going. And even if you move house, move job, it's going to follow you regardless of whether you are on benefits, working. You go from working to benefits to working. It's going to be docked out until it's paid. You can either pay it all in one lump sum, you can pay it in installments, you can pay it all in over a course of a period of time. It doesn't make it too bad for you. And then I think that makes happy landlord and happy future tenants.
Yeah.
I think, give or take, integrity of the walls and stuff like that, well, I wish I could help you with that, but, I often wondered what happens if you were to put this type of stuff on ceilings and walls and stuff like that. I think bathrooms should be from top to bottom. They should be linoed from top to bottom, everywhere, all the way around the whole entire bathroom. And the doors need sealing properly, so when you shut it, it acts like a. Very interesting. And then when you have the extractor fan on, it ain't no good having an extractor fan if air can't get into the building. So while you have the extractor fan on, again, a type of airlet that opens up, well, it will do naturally, depending on how you put this in. If you have innovation, this works. Where it's like a flap. It stays shut most of the time. But then when the extractor fan comes on, it's sucking in the air. It lifts, lets the air in. When it's off, it shuts. Unless there's really, really, really strong wind. But again, you can get the reverse idea that if there's strong wind on the outside, as soon as it wants to try and get into the building, it works in reverse. One that stays open most of the time. But there again, it's got to be a wind above a certain strength. Above 40 miles an hour outside, it's going to close. Shades of grey with that one, I'm afraid. But I think all things like that in the property should be done that way. Because I think it should be fair that if the landlord's going to put out into this and pay out into this pot, then on the same idea that they might look at that and think, well, what's the fucking point? This place is a shithole, dog shit everywhere, and this, that, and the other. It just makes cleanup so much more easier at the end. I don't know, the amount of dog crap in between the floor in here, wow.
Yeah.
And then some of it looks like someone has used a brush on a wooden floor continuously. Again, it would have needed a Hoover at the time, so the lino would get around that sort of issue, especially if it's a nice new wooden floor, and it's there to insulate. It's warmer than the concrete. A lino over the top of that still has the warmer effect, but at least I know my wooden floor under there is still fresh. If I do go to sell the building, or
nothing gets in between,
it doesn't get damaged, and then nothing falls beyond the floor. Because again, here, if you've got young kids and all the rest of it, then and they have an accident with a potty or something like that, especially if it's a front room and it's wooden flooring, that's going under. If you've got pets, it's going under. That puddling is gonna, the water is gonna find the gap in between. And it's going to start laying on there. And this, depending on what it is, dog mess, it's going to damage the bitumen underneath. Some of it stains concrete. You see it out on pavements when you walk through towns and cities. Yes, people have cleaned away the remainder of the bulk, but there's that staining. And then when you clean that away, you've got these patches. So there's damage happening on this. I think that our towns and cities need a bit more.
Yeah.
They need the council to sort of get out and pressure wash us, or have no dog zones, no pet zones. Yeah, it's kind of weird to tell people not to do that, but or if not, there's a dog tax. It's a
Mm.
very weird thing, but
Yeah.
it's something that
Dog tax, and that pays for those little machines that go around and you can.
because somewhere along the line, you may be a dog lover, but other people might not be, and they have to walk in all of that. So their
Yeah.
choice to not want to walk in that, and you're
Mm.
walking it into the shops as well,
Yeah. You
versus
spread it and they
yeah,
get it on their feet as well, on their shoes.
yeah, versus someone
Mm.
who does want one and they do want to take it into
Mm.
the town. Where do you draw the line between standing on people's freedoms?
Yeah.
Do you think about that in a way
Mm. Mm.
that you know that if you take your dog into a town or a city, it's going to piss and shit.
Yeah.
It needs cleaning.
Yeah.
And again, there are people who would argue that why should I pay for that if I don't have a dog? And then
Mm.
people who will say that they're dogs, why can I not take my dog there? You're stamping on my freedom.
Yeah.
At the same time, and then things like chewing gum
Mm.
and stuff like that. I think that that should also have a level of levy against it. Yeah, you might not want to chew it. You might be wise with it, but at the same time, there's a lot of this all over the towns as well. There's an awful lot of it.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to cost money to clean that,
Mm.
and it's going to need really intensive cleaning.
Yeah.
It's going to need pressure washing at certain times, every 3 months, it would seem.
Mm.
Because there are some really beautiful towns, but don't look at the pavement. Don't look down. Keep your head up, because all those stains you're seeing on there is not because it just rained.
Mm.
It's a build up, and then we're walking that in
Yeah.
supermarkets and into shops and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's quite something.
Mm.
So clean town. Do we see a reduction in illness? Do we see a reduction in this? Is there more health? Are we more moving into a health era as individuals? So where I am against landlords, I'm also for landlords and against tenants. That there are some tenants that just take the piss.
Mm.
And again, it's the next tenant will have to sort of chin and bear it if the landlord doesn't want to bear it. And it's kind of a bit weird because not all of us are like that.
Mm.
But why should I live in that? Why should I clean it?
Mm.
And then the landlord's like, well, why the hell should I clean it?
Mm.
Somewhere along the line, we need a middle ground. So, yes, you need to take care of your side of it, landlords. But if these changes come in and you still refuse to do something, then this is why there needs to be law on either side.
Yeah.
And then we will find the balance, because to be like, I ain't doing that because it ain't my mess. Oh, I don't want to clean. I don't want, this next tenant might be just as messy as the last one. Where you want us not to tar you all with the same brush, you have got to look at the people and say, I am not going to tar all people with the same brush. Not everybody is the same. So there's a fine line to be had. And it's unfortunate that people that do want to look after their properties and would look after it and like nice smells, they're the ones in the middle of this ping pong.
Yeah.
And it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they don't want that. So there's the line, I think. And I think that there needs to be some innovating changes done inside a property in this way. Velcro backing carpets around the edges. It doesn't have to be the whole carpet. It can be stuck on afterwards. Double-sided tape, not double-sided, one-sided tape, Velcro on the other side.
Yeah.
Keep the carpet in place. Plus, if you've got the magnetic skirting boards, it will also hold it down. You can also get pins into the bottom of it so that it sort of dips in and clocks into place, and it keeps the carpet where it is. And then if you want to change the carpet, you just lift up all of the skirting boards that are magnetically connected. It's easy for repairs. You don't get the horrible paint. It can be cleaned easy after the tenant has gone. If they're damaged, they're easily replaced. I mean, it's quite hard to replace these when they're married up in the corners.
Yeah.
Something's got to give. You see,
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah.
replace that?
Yeah.
It's quite married up. So
Mm.
in the event of getting one skirting board off,
Mm.
you're going to damage the other one.
Yeah.
Then that becomes, quite the... What's the point? Let's just quickly fill it. And then after time, it starts to look a little bit weird.
Mm.
And then this puts out new business, if you like, where you can get laser printed on the skirting board.
Mm.
Pick a color, pick this, right, you can get any type, shape, pattern, text, whatever you want. Love, life, live, laugh, and all the rest of it tattooed all over it. You go buy it yourself. Then this is incentive that you're going to be looking after the landlord one, because well, I'm going to be removing these standard ones. The landlord's like, great, at least they're not getting damaged. It's good for me. You'll damage your own if they ever get damaged, and then the bigger stuff can be done. Plug sockets and things like that. Again, that's another thing. I've heard these get damaged, and different things like that. If it isn't the tenant's fault, that's your responsibility. If it is the tenant's fault, well, again, dock it from them. But you can't do it all at once at the end of the tenancy. That's a little bit weird. You've got to do it while they're in the property.
Yeah.
And then after they leave. And then it's like, if it comes to £10 a month, if it comes to £20 a month, it doesn't matter. The judge will know what to do with that and what's good enough. And then there can be evidence on either side. It doesn't even have to go to a judge. You can go to a small claims court somewhere that has the authority to act upon that. Well, you brought down the fence. Okay, you are paying for it. You started to see it go. You didn't call it in. If there's age related on that, and a deterioration of mental state, then I think that ought to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's not a wholeheartedly, that's out of your control. That would be looked at as I don't know what they call it, an act of God. Do they call it certain things? Flooding, thunderstorms, wind.
Yeah.
So, and I think deterioration of mental state, decline.
Mm.
Again, they should have the know-how to deal with that and know what cases are this. And then that helps to be looking out for this, to not let it get to a stage where it becomes unbearable for both parties. So, yeah, and I think this will help to make a bit more of a better society. What to do with door frames, though? I mean, because that's another one. Door frames are quite the thing, aren't they? They're quite a state, to be fair.
Yeah.
You've got bits missing in all sorts of areas. So should that be a casing?
Could they be metal?
No, I think that would be too dangerous for kids if they go to run and they headbutt something. No, I think that they should be wooden, but then they should have this casing put over them. A changeable casing.
Mm-hmm.
It's strong, it's resilient. If it gets damaged, it protects the wood underneath. Mm-hmm. And a sort of casing that goes over them, mm-hmm, that can either be tacked in place, because you don't want it falling on somebody, mm-hmm, if there's a draft or something, or a type of... I don't know, a lock-in system that can be easily undone and another one put in. It's got to be as quick as that. You don't want to be spending like loads of time on labour to replace this stuff. It wants to be simple, and it needs to be thought out in a way that is off with the old if it's damaged, on with the new. But it's got to be fixed into place where it's secure. And then that does something else. The tenant might be able to get some ones with a nice fancy design on it, or different colours, different things like that. Then does away with all the paint and gloss and stuff. I know it's bad for the gloss companies, but I don't know, if they shifted over towards this sort of pattern on casing prints like that. I mean, you could even use recycled material to build this as well. So you'll be utilizing some stuff that usually gets thrown in the bin, if it's possible. That whole gloss thing and everything else, it fletches off anyway. It doesn't cope with temperature change. It's great outside, maybe on the old windows. I think this is why they got rid of old wooden windows anyway, because the amount it's good. It was good for the time, but it don't last, right? It blisters off and everything else. And if you don't use the heat gun, again, very energy intensive tool. Yeah. It's a lot on the electricity, which therefore you need more voltage. Yeah. And then you've got to take the time to do that. Who the hell has the time to do that? Whereas more of the plastic types, I think you can just clean them quite easy.
Mm.
They clean very well.
Mm.
I don't know. This one's got some weird staining on it. Some sort of staining on it that's just, it just
Yes,
will not clean off.
splashed.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Either or. So
Mm.
again, that needs looking at. What is that?
Mm.
Um, and then something needs to be put in to prevent that. A resistant layer to that. Because if not, I don't know. I've noticed it on a few windows around
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
There's a strange sort of staining on
Mm.
everything. Anyway, but again, yeah, magnetism is my favorite. So, and it's very simple. Now it protects the floor, and then this helps landlords not have empty buildings because the first thing you want to do when you walk into a building is that smells good.
Mm.
That's a nice smell. Yeah,
Yeah,
my scent
yeah.
will go into this.
Mm-hmm.
Then it smells like home, feels like home,
Mm.
and I think it protects landlord and future tenants and tenant because if you do damage it and you're like, oh shit, that was an accident, something fell over onto it and it knocked it. You can find this very readily at the hardware store.
Yeah.
Go get it, and on you go.
Mm.
I think people by nature are a bit this way anyway. Some need prompting, but the ones that really are just like, yeah, fuck you. Okay, you've all warned. Summons to court, or it can be done out. Where do you work? Are you on benefits? Yes. Okay, we're going to be docking this much then. And it's your choice to present your case. Either they're going to take it on your next wage, they're not going to leave you in poverty,
Mm.
or you're going to do it in installments, or they're going to be doing it over a course of time over installments. But again, and then this helps to understand, well, if it gets to a certain amount, that's eviction. You see, because you've really damaged the property. So, and it's not everyone. So it's a few that let it down for everyone, but it
Yeah.
seems like there's a lot of fews in different sort of houses
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. I don't know. I would do it this way. If it was my house,
Yeah.
if I owned the house, if I ever owned a
Mm.
house and I was going to be renting it out, that's where I'd go. That's exactly where I'd head with that. And then I'd expect some sort of checks to be done on this stuff, because at the end of the day, it's good for you and it's good for tenant. Why is it good for tenant? Well, in the event of a leak, if a pipe bursts, hope it doesn't, but if it did, and it acts as barrier as well, I think. Adds another damp proofing. So it can't be bad. In an ideal world, you'd want it in the cavity as well. To stop anything from evaporating from down low, let's say. But yeah, that doesn't 100% work here though, because when putting it on this, I don't know, the stench
Yeah.
that was still coming even with this stuff down. So there's an underlying issue there. So, and I think that helps narrow it down. If you can smell it, yeah, there's something. It's not the tenant. It's definitely the building. Something's gone underneath, and then this helps you indicate very quickly because it will concentrate the smell. So, and then it helps you fix that, which then saves you tons in structural damage. Because I think that insurance companies, if you've left it and left it and left it, I don't think they should be paying you. Because that puts it in a higher premium for other landlords, and that's not fair if they want to walk in this and they want to do a good job about being a landlord, and that makes it so expensive because insurance companies are paying out, paying out, paying out. I've seen some buildings where they just let it go,
Mm.
and then it's okay because we've got insurance.
Mm.
Wait a minute. So it's more money
Yeah.
quickly,
Yeah.
and if I was an insurance company, I'd be quite hot on that as well.
Yeah, they should watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not let it fall apart because the insurance company is going to mummy them out of a situation and give them a large amount of money. No, I don't think that should be. No, the planning permission's there. I might be able to build something bigger. Insurance company will pay me. Yeah, no. And then this should lower your insurance premium, technically. Well, has it got this? Oh, bloody hell, yeah, all right. Well, they can come around and check it, sort of thing. Wow. Wow. Okay. So there's going to be less likely chance of there being a leak. That just needs to take care of this. I won't need to worry about the wooden flooring underneath. There doesn't need to be done this. It doesn't damage the damp-proof membrane. Again, this brings your premium down.
Mm.
And then it gives upcoming landlords every opportunity to get in the game if they want to, which is great for society because think about it, that there'll be more houses.
Yeah.
More houses to rent, more availability, more houses
Yeah.
being built, less insurance premium, especially if they're built in this sort of way. It mainly seems the floors everywhere. The floors. It's the floors of the issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, somewhere along the line. And I think this sort of brings landlords and tenants that step closer. Rather than it's you, it's them, it's the past, it's this, it's that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, see it. 2 and 1, 6 a dozen of the other, 12 of one, 6 a dozen. Yeah. Yeah, we can keep battling back and forth, but I'm not seeing any change. And then this is good for overall. So it really helps the courts keep up to date with, if you damage it, you pay for it.
Yeah.
And then, do you need so much of a higher damage deposit then? Does that come down? Oh, the damage deposit. What have I got to charge a damage deposit for now? Well, you want a pet. Yep, okay. Right, still going to be charging that because they will need cleaning after you're gone. Perhaps you can do it yourself, or we're going to charge for it. But I think that should be charging the rent. I think that's a good way forward. And then it's like, oh, just the walls. Okay, that could go wrong. The doors, right? Okay, that would cost me this much. Everything else I can keep an eye on in the checks or whatever. This, that, and the other. And then that could bring damage deposit down. And then there's more affordability for people who are perhaps stretched for cash at the time.
Yeah.
Good tenants, but perhaps they want to change their area. Perhaps they just don't fit in that area. Probably want to be over there near more closer to family. Perhaps family moved over in this area. They just can't do it because of this. I need to pay this rent and do this. The tenants deposit transfer scheme. I think it should be another thing as well, another avenue. Rather than release the funds from this landlord and then go to this one and give you it and then they put it in, it should be able to transfer. I think it might, well, if you've got a damage deposit, it's tied up with this one. And they sort of give the nod, yeah, we're not going to be charging anything at the end of tenancy. They've looked after the building. I mean, that's the biggest thumbs up you want for a new tenant. Yeah, we're just going to paint. Obviously, we got to clean the carpet, but yeah, it's inevitability. Your carpets are going to get a little bit dirty after time or fade, wear and tear. It's part and parcel of it. Especially if you're moving, you're back and forth outside. It could be raining at the time. You're going to walk that in, some mud. It's inevitability. Go with the flow. Go with the flow. Can that be cleaned up? Yeah, it can. Bit more of a better quality carpet. It can take the it can take the cleaning. And then there's plenty of cleaning services out there.
Yeah.
Carpet cleaners and all the rest of it. Meh. But yeah, again, and it gets underneath as well. You want to be cleaning under and on, plus the carpet. Why not? Looks good, smells good, feels good. Wow, this is going to be a nice new home. So protects the wooden flooring, and the wooden flooring doesn't take on so much of the smell because that really traps it in. There's the wood. It does hold on to a lot. So I don't know. Yeah, somewhere there. So I hope I've been quite balanced on both of those in 2 different videos. But yeah, there are some absolutely messy people out in the world. I've got to admit that. There really are. Very bad tenants as well. Yeah. So, and I don't think it's ever going to be something that you can fix because it encroaches on freedom. But, can definitely get the repairs done for the next tenant.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So yeah, there we are. We're going to leave it there.